You know, the most powerful innovations, they're not always cooked up in a fancy lab. Sometimes they're born from a crisis. That incredible moment when deep professional expertise smashes right into a deeply personal challenge. And that, right there, is exactly the origin story of Pink Nexus AI.
So what we're looking at here is the collision of two completely different worlds. On one side, you have the scientist, a researcher from UC Berkeley with 2 decades of experience in really complex systems. And on the other side, the survivor, a patient, just trying to find her way through the confusing maze of a foreign healthcare system. Pink Nexus AI was born right at that intersection, where things got powerful and incredibly personal.
And this quote from the founder, Dr. Liwen Li, wow, it really says it all, doesn't it? This is where her two worlds didn't just collide, they fused together because they had to. Think about that for a second. She wasn't just a patient enduring a broken system, she was a researcher dissecting it in real time. And that unique analytical point of view is the bedrock of this whole platform. Okay, so what Dr. Lee discovered during her journey, well, it wasn't just her problem. It turned out to be a global crisis of silence, and it affects millions of people every single year. The scale of this is just staggering. 2.3 million. Let that number sink in. That's how many new breast cancer cases are diagnosed around the world each year. But that's not just a statistic, right? That's 2.3 million individual people, their families, their struggles, and a lot of them are facing this in places that are completely new to them. And this brings us right to the core of the issue, what Dr. Lee calls cultural silence. It's not just about not speaking the language. It's like being trapped between two giant walls. On one side, you've got these cultural taboos that make it hard to even talk about cancer. And on the other, you've got the very real language barriers of the healthcare system. The results? You feel completely isolated, right at the time you need support the most. And here's a really crucial point. Your standard one-size-fits-all healthcare models, they completely miss this stuff. They just don't get the cultural stigma, the complex family dynamics, or the very specific needs of people living abroad. And this creates a whole set of unique challenges for patients, whether they find themselves in the US, Germany, or Taiwan. So let's look at what this actually feels like. This table breaks down the gaps Dr. Lee personally ran into across 3 different continents. In the USA, it was a financial maze of insurance. In Taiwan, the system's so efficient you get maybe 3 minutes with your doctor. No time for real human connection. And in Germany, it was language barriers and endless red tape. See, it's not just one system that's failing, it's a universal problem that just looks a little different everywhere you go. But right in the middle of all this struggle, there was a breakthrough, a real aha moment. Dr. Lee realized that her entire life's work as an academic, her expertise in empowering communities, was the exact tool she needed to solve this deeply personal problem. Her specialty is this really powerful method called action research. And here's a simple way to think about it. Traditional research kind of studies a community from the outside, looking in. But action research, it gets in there and works with the community to build solutions together from the inside out. It totally flips the power dynamic, turning people from subjects into active partners. And that is the absolute game changer at the heart of Pink Nexus AI. It completely flips the script. Patients are no longer just passive people getting treatment. They become knowledge co-creators. Their real-life experiences, their wisdom, their struggles, that becomes the raw material for building a solution that helps everyone. So that philosophy is amazing, right? But how do you actually turn that into technology? Let's dive into the pretty unique AI that makes all of this possible. The secret sauce is what's called a dual-engine AI. Just picture a researcher with 2 very different libraries. Instead of just searching the whole internet, it pulls from 2 specific, trusted places. This means the answers it gives are not only medically solid, but they're also deeply culturally relevant. All right, so Engine A, think of this as the by-the-book engine. Its one and only job is to make sure everything is medically accurate and safe. It only pulls information from the gold standard sources, like official oncology guidelines. This is the safety net that prevents any kind of misinformation. But then you have Engine B, and this is where the real magic happens. This is the practical wisdom engine. It's the heart and soul of the platform.
It's not built on textbooks. It's built on 20 years of real stories and lived experiences from the community. This is where you get the emotional support and cultural understanding that no textbook could ever give you.
So what does that actually mean? What kind of questions does this practical wisdom engine answer? Well, it's all the stuff that clinical guidelines just can't touch. Questions like, how do I actually manage these side effects day to day? Or how in the world do I talk to my family about this when it's a cultural taboo? It tackles the social stigma, the insurance headaches. It's the real-world advice for the real-world journey.
Now, the vision here is so much bigger than just helping one person at a time. The real goal is to create a ripple effect, a kind of feedback loop that can start to improve the entire healthcare system for everybody. And that leads to a pretty big question, right? How can one person's story, just one single narrative, really change an entire system? Well, the answer is all about creating a powerful cycle where every single story adds more value.
And this is it, the pink Nexus data flywheel. It's the model for turning all those individual stories into real, systemic change. It's a loop that just keeps feeding itself and getting stronger. It starts with stories. The AI makes them smarter. That provides better support, and that ultimately creates evidence to make the whole system better. Let me just walk you through it. Okay, here's how the flywheel spins. Step 1, survivors share their stories. Step 2, the AI takes those stories and structures them into useful, anonymized data. Step 3, that data makes the platform smarter and more helpful for the next person who uses it. And finally, step 4, and this is the kicker, all that data becomes powerful, real-world evidence that hospitals and insurance companies can use to see what's really going on and improve care. And listen, this isn't just some idea on a whiteboard. This is already happening. The platform is being validated right now, with over 50 pilot users from all over the world. There's a technical residency lined up at UC Berkeley to build out the main product, and a beta launch is planned for 2026. The train has definitely left the station on this one. So all of this leaves me with a pretty big thought. In a world that's obsessed with big data and high-tech medicine, what if the real future of care is powered by something a lot more human? What if it's powered not just by data, but by the incredible wisdom you can only find in our shared stories? And really, that's the whole mission of Pink Nexus AI, to build that bridge between clinical fact and lived wisdom. It's a really powerful idea, and one we're going to be watching closely. If you want to follow the journey or connect with the founder yourself, you can find Dr. Li Wenli on LinkedIn. Thanks for tuning in.